I forgot to check what universities they work for. There was one in China, one in Japan, maybe one in Europe. Um, so I'm not sure if they wrote that for the international marketplace or if it's for the Asian marketplace. You know, like who are the number one customers of that book? Who would buy that book? But I find it's really good because sometimes I feel it's written for English as a second language students, ESL students. And that's probably why they choose it for college campuses in Asia, because it's like really clear writing. I just find it so clear, so nice, that writing. Yeah.
I also see some several other academic writing book, but they wrote a lot of text, so
Yeah.
sometimes it's very boring to read all of it, and especially it's not my native language, so some of
Mhm.
the term I don't understand.
Yeah.
But I really like the book. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. I hope you like you. I feel kind of embarrassed because Anya say, Brighton, you got all these examples from the book. I do try to change them, but make them more Vietnam specific. So I'll try to do that. But tonight's lesson, to tell you the truth, it's almost directly from the book because
Mm.
it's a difficult concept. We're going to go from prompts, exciting things, to a thesis development, and I had to stay very close to that book to make the transition as clear as I can for you all. Yeah,
Thank you so much.
you're
And
welcome.
I have a question related to the book number three that we are studying right now. Will
Hmm.
we study it in 30 lesson? Because this book
Yeah,
is very big, so I think like 10
um,
lesson probably
10
we cannot.
lessons is not
Is
really able to, yeah.
uh,
So, and what I plan to do is when we finish our lesson number 10, try to start academic level 5 right from where we stopped in the level 3 book. It's the best way because, like you said, those books are so structured that if I jump out of it, it can make the course very confusing. So, I definitely will plan to stay on that for academic number 5, start exactly where we stop after the 10-week session. Yeah,
thank you so much.
you're welcome. Lean, how are you? Or Lee, just Lee. You're smiling, so I wanted to call on you. How are you today, Lee? Microphone.
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Are
Everything
you
well?
in Vietnam today, Lee, or are you in another
Yeah, I'm
country?
in Vietnam. I am a grad student. I know I'm on my second year PhD
Okay.
at the moment, and I'm in Vietnam. Yeah.
What's your subject area for your PhD?
Um, mm, I am doing in Vietnamese studies
Okay. Is it
and
cultural, linguistic, sociology?
more religion and culture.
Oh, religion. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm laughing. I had a fun assignment for the students last night. They're beginning level number 5. They're pretty intelligent. I'm impressed by them. One middle school student, maybe 13 or 14 years old, knew the difference between Chinese Buddhism and Tibetan Buddhism because I put a picture for him to write a fantasy story. And he said, Teacher, this would not be China. This would be Tibet. Very good. Nice. This boy knows his differences in his Buddhism, right? Yeah. Okay, let's see. We have Ellis is here. I said hello, and Lean and An and Mr. Tintin from Germany. How are you?
I'm okay.
Good. Thanks for your writing. I enjoyed it. Nice work. What I noticed in Tintin's writing, and it was short, but it was a really good window on Tintin. You already know how to go from writing a prompt into a thesis statement.
Yeah.
And yeah, and the student Anne who loves history, he's going to join us shortly. He also did that. You guys just like must have covered that in school because you knew how to jump from that prompt statement right into a thesis statement. So that's the main focus of our lesson tonight. It's pretty cool, Tintin.
Thanks.
By the way, how is Germany in March? Is the weather cooler or warmer lately?
It has been a little bit better. There are fewer people who are sick because it is becoming warmer.
Yeah, yeah. So that's interesting how you put that. Fewer people are sick, right? My friends in Chicago and I, we know many German people and we speak German. So we always make jokes, Like in English and French, the word for hospital, in English it's hospital, and in French it's hôpital, no H, just hôpital, which comes from the word hospital. But in German it's Krankenhaus. And it just translates directly to the sick house, right? And I think that's
Yeah.
so funny. Tintin, if you're a natural English speaker, a native English speaker, German can be so funny. Like, the nurse is called the Krankenschwester. It's like the sick sister. In English, that sounds so funny. Your sister is sick? No, she helps people in the hospital. She's the Krankenschwester, right? And you speak German, right? Anne said she has lived in Germany or speaks German, Anne?
Yes, I know a bit German, like
Okay.
level A2 or B1, but
Okay.
I didn't speak it for quite a long. But I know, yes, I passed the test, but maybe right now I forgot. I mean, like
Okay.
I can read the text, but I'm not able to speak it out loud.
Okay. But the easy word sick is krank,
Yeah,
so
thanks.
yeah, so krank, and so you have Krankenschwester, Krankenhaus. It just sounds so funny. Also Tintin, because that sea monster is called the Kraken. So that comes from Norwegian, though. I don't know if that's German. Kraken and Kranken, right? Let's see. Mr. Henry Tran Tuan Min is here. Hello, Min. How are you? I forgot how long your name was. Min, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good. Min, I always forget. Are you in the debate class on Sunday morning?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay. There are three Mins, and I always forget which one is.
Just call me Henry though, because my name started with Henry. I wrote Henry there.
Henry's best. Henry's a cool name, by the way, right?
Yeah.
Henry, you study French?
What?
Did you study French?
Yeah, I did.
I thought so.
I'm studying it now.
Yeah. So how do you say Henry in French?
Henri.
Henri. It sounds so cool. Henri. Like if you went to a city like Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon, 100 years ago in the year 1925, Henry, if you were walking down the streets in those cities, you would hear Henri, and there'd be like 25 different Henris in those cities because of all the French
Yeah.
people, right? Pierre, another one, Pierre. You have all these people. Okay, I'm going to drink my tea. By the way, everybody, I took allergy medicine because the daytime was rainy and then warm, and then night became cool, and my eyes start to burn and my nose starts to hurt. It's called kafunsho in Japanese. It's powder from the flowers, and it just makes me crazy. So I had to take this little pill from the doctor. So my energy level went down by like 20%. Sorry about that. So I would just be enjoying some tea to get the energy back up. All right. Do you read Chinese characters? Anybody? An or Lee? Do you read Chinese characters? Or okay, because
I
the
used to, I
characters.
used to study, but now I
Oh.
forgot everything. I'm learning French now.
Because the characters in Chinese are the same as they are in Japanese. For kafun sho means flour powder that makes me sick. So I'm doing this too a lot. All right. All right, Mr. An, how are you? Is the N there?
I'm pretty cool. I'm pretty done.
Pretty good, you say? Yeah, you did a nice job on your paper. You and Tintin, you understand how to go from a prompt to a nice thesis statement in your work. So I think you guys studied this in your secondary school pretty well. Nice work. All right. So let's take a look. I want to show you Tintin's paper just to show you how he did this. And Tintin, I'm kind of glad you just did a quick one paragraph, right? Because let me see, save that. Okay, one moment, please. Tintin, let me get your work for tonight. And it is Henry Liang Lee. Tintin, I can't find your homework. I maybe put it in another folder. Wait one sec. Let me just go into the Zalo group and I'll get your homework, Tintin. Sorry about that. Mr. Tintin. Okay. One moment, please. Thing about Zalo is it jumps all around. It's hard to get right on Zalo. right into Mr. Tintin. Where are you? Oh my gosh.
Here.
Okay. In Germany and
Yeah.
close to Bremen. All right. Tintin, there you are. Okay, now Tintin, I have the homework assignment number 3. And let me go down here. If it would let me, please, please, please. I want to do the corrected version. Homework number 3, come on. No, that's that's Lee. There it is. Okay. This is the checked version. Tintin, you didn't have many mistakes. You're fine. Oh, no, that's not. Oh, you guys, this is crazy. All right, Tintin, I don't know what to do. I'll just go to your unedited version that you sent me, okay?
Yeah.
And here we go. If I can get this here. Mr. Tintin. Oh, Zalo. Sorry about this, you guys. Zalo just jumps all over the place. This is amazing. It just, your homework is like disappearing on me as I try to do it. Okay, so yeah, okay, so you go under the name Hatran. That's your mother's name, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't think there were any corrections really to make here, Tintin. Let me share the screen so everybody can see the work you did. And it's just one paragraph. All right, go ahead, read this one on COVID-19.
COVID-19 is one of the most recent viruses to cause a pandemic. This is a noteworthy topic to discuss because of how developed the Earth and humanity already is. Humanity has had its fair share of problems, but the infamous COVID-19 pandemic has managed to disrupt humanity during the pandemic. For instance, you couldn't go to school or you weren't allowed to go to other people's homes. The only way of education was online. People often experienced boredom during this period because there were just too little things to do. Of course, people also died from this disease. Therefore, this time was tragic for some people. Hospitals were overflowed with people, and some didn't even get the needed health care. It was hard to create a vaccine for the coronavirus because it mutates a lot, therefore hindering the progress of on exterminating it. Now the pandemic has died down after the most spread out variants of the virus got a vaccine.
Yeah, nice. I would change this you though in my original notes. You would do this to make it consistent. We couldn't go to school or we weren't allowed here. I would do that, Tintin, because that's everybody, right? We weren't allowed. And then when you read this, you realize you're talking about you and your classmates. That's fine. So here it is. This is your prompt. COVID-19 is one of the most recent viruses to cause a pandemic. It's just a straightforward, there's no opinion, but then you jump in and this is your thesis. You say, this is a noteworthy topic to discuss because of how developed the Earth and humanity already is and why it was so disruptive. Your thesis is kind of more here. If we combine these two, I would say it's a 2-sentence thesis there, Tintin. This is a noteworthy topic to discuss because of how developed the Earth and humanity already is. Tintin, to make this one thesis, like one long thesis statement, I would write already is. This is a noteworthy topic to discuss because how developed the Earth and humanity already is, and because humanity has had its fair share of problems, but the infamous COVID-19 pandemic has managed to disrupt humanity during the pandemic. Yeah, it's long. I mean, we could break that into one sentence, but that's a pretty good thesis there, following from your prompt. So nice work, Tintin. Okay, and then what follows are your examples, and that's good enough. Okay, very good. Next, I want to go to, let's just read one paragraph of this because it's quite long, is what An wrote here, or Anne. He says, just call me Anne. Anne, let me see. Mr. N. Okay, one moment, please. There's Hui, there's Lee. And trying to still find Anne. Unity. Yeah, this was Unity. Let me show you why I like this Unity paper. All right, save. Okay. Let's try to find your prompt in here. And I found it pretty easily, Anne. but let's show everybody Anne's prompt called Unity. Nice title too, Anne, Unity. Hey, Anne, can you read the first paragraph and then we'll get a feeling for that prompt that you put in there? It's T or T Nguyen or Anne. Mr. Anne, are you ready?
Since the rightful unification of Vietnam in April 1975, the socio-cultural dynamics within the country have undergone significant changes due to the government being socially and democratic. One of the most notable aspects of this transformation is the changing perceptions of indigenous ethnic groups, particularly Hmong people and other indigenous people. The Hmong, one of the 50 or 40 whatsoever.
Wait, Matt, where are you? That's just the very first paragraph.
I forgot to add a few more detailed.
No, this is all I want because I just want to show you how you transition from your prompt to your thesis there. So don't worry about the extra stuff, Anne. And you wrote, since the unification of Vietnam in April 1975, the socio-cultural dynamics of the country have undergone significant changes. So there's no opinion there. It's, it's obvious there's no opinion. So that's a really good prompt. It's just stating things factually, Anne. One of the most, now this is where it gets interesting, Anne, because this is where you include that your writing is going to have an argument, a central argument. One of the most notable aspects of this transformation is the changing perceptions of indigenous ethnic groups, particularly the Hmong. So that's excellent because you put most notable aspects this is what I would like to talk about. And then you go into your thesis here. And let's see, this essay will explore how the Hmong people, how do you say it, Anne, is Hmong people or Hmong?
Hmong.
Hmong, yeah, have been perceived by both urban and rural populations. This is an excellent thesis right there. Really nice work on that. Now, Anne, did you see in my notes, the only thing I said be careful of was at the very bottom, you included the Chinese. And my professors always said, don't include something spicy and interesting in your conclusion because your readers will think, oh, Anne, I want to know about the Chinese too. And that means you would have to, in the next 2 pages, you would say, now let's turn our attention to the Chinese in the city of Saigon. And then that would be an examination of another ethnic group, right? So this, I would probably say, among other ethnic groups. And then I know it looks terrible, and I'm sorry about this, but I would probably take that out, right? So it says, this examination of the Hmong highlights broader sociocultural issues that indigenous groups in Vietnam face, issues that are also present amongst other minority groups. While these groups may share experiences of marginalization and integration, beautiful, nice conclusion. All right. Thank you. Very good. All right. Now, for tonight, there's a lot of work, so I'd like to just jump right into it. I'd like to go through more samples. For example, An, you did an excellent one on gender. And also Lee, you did a wonderful one on healthcare. But there's just so much tonight to get through that I wanted to jump into this. Let me call on someone who would like to read here amongst our participants. We have Hui joined us. Hello, Hui. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Sorry for being late.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you for your work on Saint-Exupéry's The Little Prince. It's always been a favorite of mine too.
It's a favorite book for everyone, I think.
Yeah. So it's funny, 30 years ago, I got into a little debate with my friend about Saint-Exupéry's work. And he had a different perspective on the book than I did. He's a very good old friend. We send emails 2 or 3 times a week. And it was almost 30 years ago, 1995, that I got into this like academic argument. It wasn't anything serious with him. Hey, Hui, would you like to read the openers to this one called Writing a Thesis?
Yes, of course. Okay, writing a thesis.
Yeah.
After we have done some research, keep track of all your notes and take a position using essay prompts. The next stage is preparing to write an outline. What does an outline do? It helps organizing ideas in a way that most effective support the writer's positions. It also guarantees that the writer stay focused when writing essays. The first step in writing an outline is writing the thesis. A thesis is a statement which states the writer's position on a topic. This is the most important essay because it tells the purpose of the essays.
Very good. And so we saw that in Anne's thing, he said, I'm going to talk about the significance of the homeroom culture. So clearly he stated his purpose of the essay. So an effective thesis should include the topic of the essay and the writer's position on the topic. Remember the essay prompts found in this example. And then I will give these to Lee. Would you like to read these, Leon?
Analyze the growth of Apple market share since the introduction of the iPhone. We can transition from the simple prompt to a thesis in this manner. The rapid growth of Apple market share since the introduction of the iPhone were due to a number of innovations in design, manufacturing, and marketing. When we examine this thesis, we can see that it had the necessary components. There is a topic, the rapid growth, the rapid growth of Apple market share since the introduction of the iPhone was and a position due to a number of innovations in design, manufacturing, and marketing.
Yeah. So I tried to divide these colors. You can see the red is the topic here, and then the blue is the position it takes due to a number. So you just have this basic rapid growth of Apple's market since the introduction. That's going to be the topic. There is no opinion there. It just says there was rapid growth due to a number of innovations in design, manufacturing. And then this is where the position is. They're going to talk, the person who wrote this paper is going to talk about the innovations in design, manufacturing, marketing. For An Nguyen, the original example in the blue book, the level number 3 book, is they use the iMac desktop computer, but I wanted to change this to iPhone to make it more recent for our students, because it was with the iPhone that Apple really made a lot of its money. But the textbook used the iMac for desktop computers. I don't know why. Let's see, An, would you like to read this part here?
Yes, we can apply the same development from prompt to thesis in a longer essay prompt. For example, many governments, for a variety of reasons, are seeking energy resources. We can have them crop their reliance on fossil fuels. Assess how much countries should rely on nuclear energy to help meet this goal and their energy needs. Be sure to discuss matters of concern regarding energy use, such as cost and environmental impact, and make comparisons among various energy sources. Regarding this, include statistics from a variety of sources and have support your position.
All right. So it's a long prompt. You remember the prompts before were only one sentence. This one is actually like a 4 or 5 sentence prompt. It's a paragraph in itself. So then we would go to a thesis. A thesis for this may be, despite fears over its safety, nuclear energy still seems to be the only option to sufficiently meet the demands of an increasingly energy-hungry world while eliminating damage to the environment. As you can see, this is pure opinion, but opinion based on fact. It's a position paper, so it's argumentative. It argues a point that nuclear energy is the only real option to sufficiently meet the demands. Now, of course, you could disagree with that, but this is just a sample. So the topic is in red, and that's nuclear energy here. And the nuclear energy position or thesis is in blue, the only option. Quite a strong opinion in there. You can see the position is clearly taken. It's the thesis. That is the thesis. So that's the goal for tonight. Moving on to the thesis. Be careful to make sure your thesis directly represents a response to the essay prompt. Here are some examples that don't work too well. They're not very good. They became referred to as unsuitable theses. All right. So let's get another person to talk here. Alice, are you here?
Yes,
Hey, Alice, would you like to read this blue part here for us?
analyze the growth of Apple market share since the introduction of the iPhone response. Apple's rapid growth since the introduction of the iPhone show why it produces
Hmm.
some of the most products in the world. This response does not work too well because it indicates right away that there isn't any analysis of the reasons for Apple's growth. Also, it gives an evolution where when the prompt only asks for an analysis.
Yeah, it gives an evaluation. It makes a statement, but it's not supposed to do that. They just want an analysis. What they want is analyze the growth of Apple's market share since and you could say Apple's growth has been substantial. This can be proven by data, but here it jumps right into it produces some of the best products in the world. It has a very strong opinion. It could be true, it may not be true, but it doesn't really belong there. It's not appropriate. It's like the writer was excited and wanted to jump right into the opinion. And this happens a lot, you know, when you do history papers, you have a strong feeling about history. So you jump right into it. Okay. Thanks, Alice, for reading. You have such a charming reading voice, Alice. How about Bao Quan Tran? Are you there? Quan?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, how are you today, Quan?
I am feeling
You good?
very good today.
Very good. Did you get some good grades in school or?
No, I just have my day off and everything is literally perfect.
It's nearly perfect. Good weather, Quan?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Quan, would you like to read this returning to the long essay prompt?
Okay. Many governments, for varieties of reasons, are seeking energy sources which can help them curb their reliance on fossil fuels. Assess how much countries should rely on nuclear energy to help meet this goal and their energy needs. Be sure to discuss matters of concern regarding energy use, such as cost and environmental impact, and make comparisons among various energy sources regarding these, including statistics from a variety of sources to help support your position.
So, Alvin or Quan, do you think this is a good thesis statement? It's in blue. To eliminate the use of nuclear energy, people around the world should stop consuming too much energy, and families should not have more than one child. I'm laughing. What do you think?
I think this is I'm not sure. I'm
Yeah.
not sure that's a good or something.
Well, Quan, if I ask you, does it sound good or does it sound a little strange?
I think it's kind of strange.
Yeah.
We should improve it to phase out nuclear energy. Societies should invest in renewable energy source and implement policies that promote energy.
Do you see the mistake they made though, Quan? The person has a long essay prompt, but then the thesis jumps right into an evaluation of the problem with recommendations. And that shouldn't be part of the thesis. You know, that might be in the conclusion, right? But they put that right in the introduction. It really doesn't support the whole thing as a good thesis, you guys. So I wrote, this isn't a suitable or good enough thesis because it's off topic, right? The person starts talking about stop using energy. Families should only have one child, you know, this Mao Zedong idea from the 1960s. Not a very good thing because they're asking you to assess how much countries should rely on nuclear energy. And so that's asking for a percentage. That's like saying for Germany, they should rely on 30% coal, 40% nuclear, and 30% renewable energies. You know, you give percentages. So to try to find the best thesis, because it comes closest to replying to the prompt. The prompt, let me give you a prompt here, and then you can decide A, B, C, or D. So let's go back to Hui. Hui, can you read this one, the prompt, and then the A, B, C choices?
Yes, sir. So the prompt was describe the American judicial system and how it is designed to limit the wrongful convictions. A, the American judicial system is better than most in the world because it limits wrongful convictions. B, the American judicial system eliminate wrongful convictions. C, the American judicial system has several aspects which are meant to try to prevent wrongful convictions.
Yeah, so like from these A, B, or C, what do you think is the best thesis for the prompt? Describe the American judicial system and how it is designed to limit wrongful convictions, like a wonderful essay question, or even on a final test.
I think A is the most aligned on the topic.
Well, it makes a statement. You know, it's better than most in the world because it limits wrongful convictions. It's like a opinion right from the beginning. So, you know, this expression, as I read this, I was shying away from it.
Mhm.
There was one that was a little bit better, not so much opinion.
How about C?
Yeah. Yeah, I really do like C better. The American judicial system has several aspects which are meant to try to prevent wrongful convictions. There's no evaluation in it. It's just like a direct statement that's good enough for what we need tonight, right? So I'm going to go with C. You could challenge it if you want. We could ask, An, do you think this is the best response possible?
I think it's one of the best response possible because for me, is better than the most in the world. But what kind of information that the author rely on? Because it's better than in the most
Teacher.
in the.
Yeah.
It doesn't have
Teacher.
any
1 second.
citation.
It's a qualitative statement, on, and it would
Uh,
need if you were to put data in that, you would have to get like data on wrongful convictions, right?
Yeah.
And I think that would just be incredibly difficult. So this is more of a qualitative statement, but it's right in the thesis. It's not the best thing. Okay, where's Anne? You said teacher, Anne, are you okay?
I
Where
think
is-
the third is a bit biased with the word wrongful and aspects because aspects should be replaced with features because aspects are supposed to be good.
So you also
Wrongful.
see a little bit of bias in there with wrongful convictions. But you know what? In this sense, and it doesn't mean that the convictions are wrong, that they're bad convictions. Wrongful, it would probably be this would be better. Are you ready? Because I'll change this for you because you do make a
Alright.
good point, Ann. Mistaken. What do you think? Mistaken conviction?
Mistaken is probably less biased, but
Nice.
still kind
Good
of biased.
Still highly biased. And I think it's good enough. I always use this expression. It's good enough, right? So we'll take away the wrongful convictions. Yeah, the authors of the book didn't use the best choice of words. So you're correct. Nice work, Mr. N. All right. Next, Anne, since you are keenly into this, would you like to read these here in the blue? Are you there, Anne? and get sidetracked very easily on these
Yeah,
topics.
just looking at my project.
Okay, try the blue. Can you read that for us? Prompt.
Watch the movie Mulholland Drive and it identifies its film noir characteristics. Refers to aspects of the characters' movies when 1950s covered in lecture. Failure at the box office because of the film noir characteristics, somewhat similar to film noir of the 1950s, both visually and storyline, is a more modern but confusing version of film noir.
Yeah. Now put that film noir in Vietnamese.
A is biased, B is not so biased, and
Yes.
C is probably pretty neutral.
Neutral. Okay, nice. So what would you choose, Mr. An?
Confusing and modern here are very vague words. Similar and both visually and storyline are referring to plot and graphics. Now, this is very precise, but similar is not the same as safe. And failure at the office boss is always biased, so I'm not choosing that. Also, because of its film noir characteristics.
Right,
Who
so
says
A,
that?
B, or C? A, B, or C? Come on.
B.
B, yeah, you got it. Then, because slightly, do you remember those hedge words we learned 2 weeks ago? Somewhat similar is a beautiful use of hedging. It, somewhat similar means it's not going to be exactly the same, right? And by the way, Mulholland Drive, I think it was a 1990s film. And the 1950s were the time of the film noir, this film den. I'm not sure. Let me ask that one to Lian. In sociology, for describing cinema in the 1950s in America and in England and France, they use this film den. Does that make sense as film noir? Do you see that, Lian? Let me ask Lian, because she studies sociology. So what do you think, Lian, that film den? Or we could ask An, have you come across that film den before? Also, Kui.
I have never watched it.
Okay.
Just don't like watching films.
I don't believe the fact that it didn't say black film. Instead, it said film noir. Noir is black in French, and film is literally just film in English. Why would you mix two languages together? I'm not fucking trilingual.
Oh, hey, easy. The reason why they mix those together is because languages do that all the time. We don't call it black film, we say film noir. And when you say it, it's immediately understood as French classic movies that have dark themes, usually with crime and punishment, detectives, ambiguous characters who aren't necessarily heroes. They don't have 100% pure intentions, dark plots, murders. So it's called black film, film noir. Okay, now I jumped right into the homework. For homework, can you write a prompt on anything of interest to you? It's your choice. And then write 3 thesis statements. 2 are not suitable, and only 1 is good, just like in the exercises offered here. They can be characterized as simply lacking good development to adequately or satisfyingly transition from a prompt to a 1-sentence thesis statement. If you'd like a bigger challenge, you could try a 1-paragraph longer essay prompt and then supply 1 or 2 bad theses, right? Now, again, many of you already know how to do this. It's just that we're breaking it down into very formal language. So if I go to the homework files one more time here, let me see, we have, Leanne, let's look at your homework presentation, because you also got this correctly done even before we started the class. You had an understanding of how this works. So one moment, please. Okay, and there we go. All right, Leanne, let's see what we've got. You wanted to talk about COVID. So you said the COVID pandemic posed one of the most significant global crisis in human history, challenging healthcare systems, governments, economies. This is a good starting prompt. And then again, wonderful use, Leanne, of hedging, because you said one of the most, in another paper from a student who's only a secondary student yesterday, they wrote the most significant, right? And so you skillfully used one of the most, because crisis in history, because there are other global crisis in healthcare as well. Okay. Many countries face shortages, ventilator machines. This assignment examines the 3, and there it is. It's wonderful. That's your thesis right there, Lee. It's this assignment examines the 3 significant challenges nations faced during the pandemic. The only thing I would do here, Leon, is if you could spell that S, use that Chicago style of spelling out the numbers like THREE. Okay. And so then there it is. That's a wonderful thesis. You got it right there. Okay. So you went from prompt here to thesis here. Beautiful. Okay, and then you did your challenges and your support sentences. Let's take a look at this conclusion because we're going to learn conclusion soon. Lee, can you read your conclusion?
To conclude, the pandemic posed an unprecedented challenge to the resilience and the strength of the whole nation. While some nations respond well with efficiency healthcare, well-organized vaccination campaign, strong public compliance, others fail due to their deficient resources and political situation. Despite these challenges, the pandemic led to a significant advancement in medical research for vaccination. It also provided the nation little lesson to improve healthcare system, strengthen global collaboration, and prepare for future pandemic.
Yeah, really nice. It's very factual. You don't introduce any new information, Leanne, so it's a perfect conclusion, really. Despite these challenges, everything you talked about in the 3 points, the pandemic led to a significant advancement. And so again, this wouldn't be opinion. I mean, this is a fact. It led to a significant development in medical research for vaccination. The RNA, especially type vaccination. This also provides the nation leaders. The nations here, Leah, I will probably put an apostrophe S in here because you're describing the Vietnam nation's leaders. Lessons to improve the healthcare system, strengthen global collaboration, prepared. Yeah, very good, very good. This part here, I see nothing wrong with this, but people who are anti-vaccines, Leon, they use false arguments that the RNA type vaccination was created too quickly, so it's dangerous. But from my understanding of the research, there has been research on RNA vaccines since the early 1990s, and every 10 years, every decade, the research has gotten closer and closer, so that 5 years or even 10 years before the Corona 19 virus was discovered, identified right in 2020, the researchers already had been researching that particular genome of coronaviruses. Nouveau, meaning new coronavirus, is what they used to call it. They already had an idea that that's where the next virus would come from. So they already began building RNA templates that they were testing. So this idea that it was completely new, it's absolutely false. It's unfortunately, it's used in bad media as arguments against vaccination with RNA sequence. Not many people know that, unfortunately, that the research is quite old. It's at least 30 or 35 years old. Okay. So any questions on that one? That's another excellent example. There's another one I'd like to use ONS as well to show that you know how to transition from prompts to things. Let's see, you did Henry homework checked. I believe it's this one. So we got, hi on. There you go. Okay, so hi on, I'm going to put yours here on the screen, and then we can see this. Is that okay? Okay, let's see. Would you like to read probably the first paragraph? We'll see how you did the transition.
Can you?
I'm sorry, there it is. Okay.
The image of Vietnamese women in ancient literary works and contemporary films has changed dramatically through time, reflecting historical periods as well as societal and cultural changes. In Vietnamese literature, 4 major stages reflect the transformations of Vietnam of women's images, portrayed through First, medieval literature, 10th to 19th century. Second, critical realism writing, 1930 to 1945. Third, revelation in literature, 1945 to 1975, and fourth, renovation literature 1986 to present. This stage in literature depicts women transitioning from passively accepting their fate to resisting, actively battling, and finally freely choosing their life.
Yeah, really wonderful introduction on like it, very academic with the numbering. As I read this, in class number 3 tonight, in about 1 hour, I'm going to teach the use of hooks. I think we covered hooks already. Hooks are interesting statements that draw the writer into your work. Because of the fishing hook, it catches the fish with the hook. So hooks are used in music to create a nice melody, to make you interested in a pop song. But hooks are also used in writing to get your writers deep into the discussion. So on this, for me, what was a great hook here is if you look at the medieval is 9 centuries long, 900 years, whereas the critical realism is 1930 to 1945. So I love history. So I was thinking about this, was the critical realism period the influence of Vietnamese scholars studying in Paris and then returning to Vietnam, or in exile? Not exile, there was not too much violence in this era, but you would have like a Vietnamese writer living in Paris, studying in Paris, who began to write Vietnamese literature in the critical realism style. Was that the history there?
Yes, I study in the school. They have some several people like um oh yeah, I don't know how to translate it in English,
Oh, go ahead, you
but
can say.
but this term very specific in Vietnamese. For example, we have like chị dậu, how to say it in English, like I don't know.
Right. Were those scholars who returned from Paris and began teaching in Vietnam? Or did you have to go to Paris to learn these critical realism school of literature?
Yeah, no, I just learned it from the no to say secondary school, and then like at the school at the 10 or 12 class, because my teachers told us you have to study this, so it so when writing long literature, so that some people the teacher can understand all the term, so
But
we have to read.
how did it come to the Vietnamese literature writers in the 1930s and 40s? Were they people who traveled abroad, or were there professors in Ho Chi Minh City or Saigon and Hanoi who are teaching how to write the critical realism style?
I is my just my teacher in the north of Vietnam. She from my school.
Oh,
It,
No,
but
yeah.
the style, like where did the original writers learn the style?
The
it,
original writers, they are normally talking about like the hard life in Vietnam during 1945 and something like that. It's really hard life. People don't have money, and
Yeah,
then the women there, they have to suffer a lot.
yeah.
I
Okay.
think a critical realism writing influenced by French people. Because
Uh-huh.
at that time French people was in Vietnam, and we have many scholars go and live in France,
Yeah,
and then they come back with critical realism writing
yeah,
in 30, 45.
yeah, Leanne, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
It's like shared, there are Vietnamese scholars in Paris, but also French scholars coming to teach in Vietnam. But then you have that terrible French imperial government that's kind of keeping these scholars under observation because they say they are Marxist, communist scholars, right? But that's part of the critical realism, has a heavy Marxist critique to it. So you have to play this game of English. We say cat and dog, trying make sure the French don't become too interested in your critical realism, right? Then and this was extremely interesting for me because Dr. Duke and I know somebody who contributed to the revolutionary literature in her memoirs that are going to be published soon. She was from a pretty wealthy Southern Vietnamese family, and then she was a very intelligent student, so she was sent north to study revolutionary literature. And so she had to learn all this new literature. It's really fascinating. Her story is, I helped edit it for her last summer. Nice, nice, nice. And then the renovation literature, really, I know nothing about this on. So again, using this word hooks, you really hooked me in on this essay because this is something, this renovation, how would you describe it on?
I just learned it in my school in Vietnam because we have to study literature, math, and English. So the teacher say that to have a good math to enter university, we have to learn all the literature. So
Okay.
I have really good Vietnamese literature teacher. So
Yeah.
she chose.
Okay.
But right now, I don't study about literature anymore, so I don't know any further. For example, when Lien said that it's from French, and then I suddenly know about it. But before that, I just learned about how they write it in a chronologically way.
Okay. Okay, I'm interested in it, so I'm going to do some research on it. You successfully got me interested in that. And since we're talking about literature, we have time tonight because we went through I'll put the homework in Zalo one more time. But what I'd like to do is Mr. Hui's work on that, The Little Prince. This was very nicely written as well. I really loved your writing this week because you guys were like really engaged, really interested in what you had to write. So Hui brought up the Little Prince. My friends all read this. I didn't read this until in college. Ellis, you have a question, please, Miss Ellis?
Can you repeat the homework one more time?
Yeah, so the homework, we're going to do a prompt, and from the prompt, we're going to create a thesis statement, right? So this time, Ellis, you can choose any topic you're interested in. It's flexible homework. Take a prompt on anything you're interested in, and then develop it into a thesis that you can argue in an essay. Is that okay?
Okay.
And I'll put in an example in Zalo for you guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I think what's going to work best is if we use that long prompt style. I'll show it to you one more time before class ends. So Hui, I remember hearing about this book in a movie, and then my friend loved it. But then I didn't study this Little Prince until I read a psychological analysis of it by a famous psychologist in Zurich. She worked directly with Carl Jung. Her name is Marie-Louise von Franz. She was an unbelievably intelligent woman. And she wrote about the Little Prince and Saint-Exupéry's life, why he wrote the Little Prince. She had this whole psychological thing. But my friend said, "Oh, I don't want to hear the psychological part of it." He says, "I just think it's a beautiful book." And so this was our discussion 30 years ago. Hey, we have time. Hui, would you like to read it all? It's wonderful. I want you to read the whole thing because it's really, really interesting.
Okay. Thank you. I'm really amazed by you have a friend that work closely with Các Jung, right? He is the legendary in psychology research.
Yeah, that
Very
was me.
amazing.
That's me. I actually went to Zurich to study Jungian psychology, and I showed my books collection to my friend in Chicago, and he said, "Oh, I love Saint-Exupéry," and he read 10 pages, and he said, "I don't like the psychological evaluation."
Actually, the author of this book, he write to cope with the loss of a friend. So he have a very close friend. The guy, I mean, his friend is passed away. So this is become his inspiration to writing this book.
Oh, I didn't know that. All right. So Saint-Exupéry, would you like to read it, Mr. Wee?
Yes. Okay. One of the most popular children book in Vietnam is The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, a masterpiece of French literature. It was first published in April 1943. Despite being labeled as the children book, the book gradually became on-time favorite, not only for the young readers, but also for the grown-ups, because of the beautiful poetic storytelling and its timeless lesson. Some fans even call them the Bible for the adult world. Recently, I came across this book again and found myself fascinated by the journey of the main character, the little prince. His journeys changed himself and his perception about the world. Thus, I will use the essay to reflect my reading of this work.
So there it is, Hui, right there. That's going to be the thesis. His journey, Saint-Exupéry, or this, as the Little Prince, changes him and his perception about the world. Wonderful. That's a fine thesis statement. And it comes out of here, out of your prompts all here. It's sort of, do you know the word distill, to make pure? It becomes pure right there in the thesis statement. Nice. Now, this is interesting. Let me show you this, because in writing about literature, we have to discuss this rose thing, Hui. So let's share this with Leanne and An. What do you do when the flower is a rose, but he also calls it the rose? It's a real dilemma. Go ahead and read that, Hui.
So as the title suggests, this book tells a story about a young prince on a distant planet. His planet is small and his only friend is a common rose. At first, he spent a lot of time to take care of the rose, and the rose, because the rose is weak and fragile, so he must water it every day, make a small fence to protect his rose. But one day he found himself tired and thought that his rose were ungrateful for his care. Thus, he decided to leave the rose and travel to different planets. The rose begged him to stay, but he wasn't interested. Throughout his journeys, he met many strange people in a different planet, and each of them had a unique story and lesson to tell.
Yeah, so my comment here to Hui was, I wrote his rose. His rose is probably the best. Once you mention it once, then you can just maybe change this to go to his rose right there. And then you don't need the quotations. You use the quotations just one time, and then all other examples you can just switch to his rose, his rose, his rose. It's a very affectionate name to call it, Hui. I really like it. And then here you do a thing on love, Ira. What's interesting about this, Hui, is it builds and it builds and it builds. You know, I use the word hook again. This hooks you in further and further. It's actually very beautiful writing, Hui. I like it. It's stylish. So for literature, this is perfect, right? Nice work.
Thank
Okay,
you.
and then do you want to read the last paragraph here, Hui?
Yes, The Little Prince book is the best book I have ever read, and it can tell complex and abstract lessons through simple dialogues, but still effectively deliver the message to its readers. Personally, I found the journeys of Little Prince to be a journey that most humans seem to be going through. We grow up and become mature by being responsible and more caring for the one we love.
Yeah, excellent ending. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Very, here's a word for you, eloquent. Because sometimes literary analysis can be very dry. You know, it's an exciting book, but they reduce it too much. Yours, it infuses it with meaning and makes it like a wonderful review. And then also, this is what I teach the younger students, the eternal now form. I'm not sure, Hui, I wrote this for you, and I taught this to Ellis and others. When you discuss literature, just keep all of the events in the present tense, like he meets the fox. Instead of saying he met the fox, you say he meets the fox. What it does is it creates a suspense. It makes it's the idea to bring your reader into it. It's called using the present tense, or the eternal now generates interest in the book. So this is the standard for students in primary, middle, and secondary school. For fiction, when you're describing fiction, all the verbs become present tense. Like he sees a beautiful woman, he calls her the rose. They travel to another planet. But what's interesting, Hui, I think you have an idea of this, okay? Because at certain points of your paragraphs, it stays, you know, like this. You used it perfectly here. The fox explains, like that. You already know how to do it. It's just there were some minor times when you went into like he met the fox, right? So you already were using it here. So I just corrected that once or twice only, I promise. Okay. All right. So the homework is write a longer response, a longer prompt. I'll show you the longer prompt one more time to refresh your memory on here. And so there was this longer prompt that the textbook used, and I'll show you. It was this one. The longer prompt is something like this. Many governments, for a variety of reasons, are seeking energy. It's quite long. This was a bad thesis here. Not good enough. Try to find the best thesis. So your homework is write a prompt, a longer prompt, maybe 5 sentences, and then below it, write a really good thesis statement. Okay. So let's see. I'll give you an example here. Governments try, for a variety of reasons, seeking energy sources which can help them curb reliance on fossil fuels. Assess how much countries should rely on nuclear energy. So maybe something along the lines. This essay. Use the smaller case.
Provide
Yeah,
this
pursuing a
solution.
yeah. Okay, it's the best I can do. Sorry, it's a little slow. Okay, I took my medicine this evening, Leon, and my brain is not as fast as it was. So I was thinking maybe this thesis is okay. Let's ask An. An is working on her graduate school. An, do you like this? I just kind of created it now in the class as a thesis.
Me, right?
Yeah. Do you think it's adequate? Does it work well enough?
Yes, I think it's enough.
Okay, thanks. Because when I wrote up tonight's assignment, I actually here the book gave a bad thesis statement, and I realized it didn't have a good thesis statement. The textbook didn't give us one, so we have to do independent thinking on this one, right? So yeah, we got it. We got it. Okay. All right. But this one's not good. This is good. Okay. So that's the homework, a longer essay prompt, and then just one paragraph for this homework, because many of you are really busy and you did a beautiful work on your homework. So for this coming week, a little easier. Okay. And so then longer essay prompt followed by just a nice 1-sentence thesis would be wonderful. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For inspiration. It's wonderful
Thank
to
you.
talk to all of you graduate students who are still in there fighting. I finished my graduate school stuff 3 years ago. I was living in Taipei and I got the acceptance of my master's dissertation for an incredibly difficult dissertation that I worked 2 years on. And I really chose a bad subject. And
your master is about Chinese literatures or English literatures?
oh, you're lucky. Chinese literature. Mine was, is civil conflict, violence amongst people rising in correlation to climate change? And I just jumped into thinking this would be really interesting. And it's one of the most angry, contentious topics in social sciences right now. And all the papers were angry and there were no conclusions. As soon as someone publishes something, it gets attacked. And I thought, oh, I don't want to do this. This is really going to be. And my professor was, you must do this, you must do that. He was a Cambridge University guy, and it was difficult. All right, you guys, I will say good night to you. Well,
Yes.
Hui, thanks you, Anne. Thank you very much.
Good night. Good luck in your class.
Yeah, I have my next class I have to start. Bye
All
bye,
right.
Leah.
See you. Take care. Take care,
Thanks,
everyone.
Hui. You take care too. We'll see you guys. Bye bye, Alice. Bye bye, Bao Quan Tran. Hui, Min, Huang. Thanks. Bye bye.